Okay, so today we will hear a very special verse, exactly, yeah, wonderful, thank you, which is quoted at least, I think it's exact number, but maybe even more, but at least 3 times in whole Chaitanya Charitamrita. This verse is quoted 3 times. So it's interesting. Sometimes verses appear more often, and has a very important, it's an important verse and has an important meaning, of course. So it's a long verse, as you see on the board. Maybe we can make this a little bit more down, somehow. So, thank you. Good. So before I go through the word for word, so this is a verse compiled by Rupa Goswami. Okay, so this is a verse compiled by Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is one of our, not one, is actually in one sense our most important acarya. Without Rupa Goswami, we would not be able to understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and especially would not understand the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and that what he wanted to give to the world, which is also mentioned in this verse. And this verse is actually the second verse of Vidakta Madhava. And Vidakta Madhava is one of the most important works by Rupa Goswami, very much celebrated in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, and will be also in some detail discussed in the Antya Lila. So I will speak then also on this occasion, what is Vidakta Madhava and how did it come about, and not so much about the book itself, but more what the Chaitanya Charitamrita explains about it. So, I read the translation and then later on I will go through the words, so that we understand what this verse means. It's actually a blessing. This verse is a blessing by Rupa Goswami to the reader. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Shachi Devi, be transcendentally situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. Okay, so I go now through the words. Anarpita means not bestowed. Yeah? So the verse starts with the word anarpita, not bestowed. Something what was not given before. And chirat means since a long time and formally. Since a very long time, this has not been bestowed to the world. Actually, it's a great secret that what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave is something extraordinary, something out of this world, something completely uncommon. And this word anarpita charim chirat means that. Since a long, long, long time, like never, almost never, has this been revealed and given to the world. Karuna avatirna kalau. Karuna means, of course, mercy, and avatirna means like an avatar. He appeared, he descended in this world because out of his causeless mercy. And the last word in this line is kalau, in this Kali Yuga. So Mahaprabhu came in Kali Yuga out of his great mercy to bestow something on the humanity what has not been shown since a long, long, long time. Samarpayitum means he has given. And what has he given? Unata Uchvala Rasam. Unata means like the highest, the most wonderful, the supreme. Unata, Uchvala. And Uchvala means like shining. The most radiant, shining rasa. Means taste, experience. Of what? Svabhakti Shriyam. Svabhakti, of his own bhakti. Shriyam means most beautiful. Okay, so since a long, long time it has not been given, and what is he giving? Unata Uchvala Rasam. And what is this? It's actually Prema Bhakti. It's Prema Bhakti, and not just Prema Bhakti as a state of consciousness, it's also Prema Bhakti as a spiritual lifestyle and process, how we can become pure lovers of the Lord. So he is not giving just love of Godhead. When he said he gave love of Godhead, Mahavadanyaya, Krishna Prem Pradayate, it's not only in a mystical way in that sense, that he was running around and gave everyone love of Godhead. through the acharyas, especially Rupa Goswami, gives a process how we can develop love of Godhead. And this is the reason why Rupa Goswami is so important, because he explains this, especially in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We can never overemphasize, over-understand what Rupa Goswami actually gave, and which Srila Prabhupada in a very synthetic way explained to us, so that what we are practicing is actually a technique of Bhakti Yoga. But we don't realize it so often, in one sense, because it's like in a synthetic way. The morning program, the japa, all the technical things, all the processes on the altar, actually they are formalized in the Shastra and formalized in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And we are more or less intuitively practicing this because of Prabhupada's approach of being not too technical with anything in general, and also not with the practice of Bhakti Yoga. So, Sama put unnatural, so Svabhakti Shriyam, his own bhakti. Why is this Svabhakti? Why his own bhakti? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. So, Mahaprabhu practices his own bhakti to himself. It's actually interesting. He practices bhakti to himself. Yeah? In one sense, in a hidden way. He is a devotee, he's a bhakta. He worships Krishna, but actually worships in that sense himself. So his own bhakti he's giving. And Hari Purata Sundarat Yuti Kadamba Santipita. The most beautiful, shining personality, Hari, in this form, Sadaridaya Kandare, means he always should be in the Kandare, means cave, or it's translated here as the innermost core of your heart. In the third line you see, in the last line, Hridaya Kandare, it means Kandare is a cave. Something very deep, something, not so easy to approach. And the Hridaya is the heart. So in the innermost chambers of your heart, Prabhupada translates it like the innermost chambers of your heart, in the deepest part of your heart, Spuratu, may he be manifest. There he should be situated. Shachi Nandana, the son of Mother Shachi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in the innermost chambers of your heart, what's a chamber or a kandare? It's a cave, it's dark. A cave is normally dark, but in this verse it said he's shining like molten gold. And so if Mahaprabhu is situated in this innermost core of your heart, also our heart becomes shining and we will become enlightened, and he should be situated there. So this verse is a blessing of Rupa Goswami to the reader. Very often when we read Shastra, when we read Bhagavatam or other texts, especially in the end of a lila, a pastime or a part, there's a blessing. If you read that, if you have heard that, you will attain love of God. You will go to the supreme world and this and that. Just reading this katha, hearing this for a conditioned soul is most changing. It's changing. Yeah? It gives a strong impression. So Rupa Goswami, in the beginning of his Vidakta Madhava, he gives this blessing. May this Supreme Lord, the son of Mother Shachi, who is none other than Krishna himself, who is most powerful, most merciful, who appeared in this Kali Yuga to bestow what no other incarnation has ever offered before, pure prema bhakti, unnatotchvala rasa, the taste of the supreme bhakti, of bhakti to himself. He is giving this to the world. May this Lord, who is so merciful, be resplendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Yeah. May he be situated. So it's a blessing by Rupa Goswami. So we should be very grateful to Rupa Goswami to give such a blessing, because this is what we should want. We should want to have Krishna manifest in our heart. And in our heart means also in our mind. Yeah? He should be also in our mind. He should be manifest, and he should enlighten us from within so that we are always Krishna conscious and overcome the problems of this material world. So this was the verse number 4 of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And now I will speak on Rupa Goswami, who wrote this verse. Because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the compiler of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he quotes from many, many sources. Yeah, he's a Kaviraj, it means he's the king of poets, the king of writers. And he's very learned. And so he is more or less not he is not, of course he writes the text, but he knows when he can put in quotes from different sources. And very often he quotes also Rupa Goswami. So, Rupa Goswami is in that sense the most important acharya because he understood the heart, manobishtam. Yeah? Before we speak, we always chant this, what is it? Sri Caitanya manobishtam stapita mena bhutale svayam rupa kadamayam dadati swabadantikam. May Rupa Goswami Prabhupada accept me as in the dust of his lotus feet. When will I obtain the dust of his lotus feet? And the one who understood the mission, manobishtam means the mindset of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because we have to understand, 500 and more years ago when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared and when he acted in this world, it was not that everyone had the complete theological understanding what we have now. For us devotees, we joined the Hare Krishna movement, and in like 1, 2, 3 weeks, when we listen and talk with devotees, we have a quite good theological understanding of what's going on here. But 500 years ago, this was not there. We have this now we inherited this from all our acharyas who formalized, who understood what is the essence of Vedic scriptures, which are vast. Vedic scripture are vast. Like we see in Parikshit's story, when Parikshit wanted to hear, he asked the sages, what should I listen now? I'm about to die. And it said that the sages, they were discussing what is the highest, most important. Some went into Gyan, some into Karma, maybe some into Bhakti. But also Bhakti has many aspects. There's Jnana Mishra Bhakti and there's Karma Mishra Bhakti and so many flavors of Bhakti, so to say. Yeah? So what is the best, what is the highest, is not so easy to understand, even having Vedic literature. So the Goswamis, Nana, Shastra, Vichara, Naika, Nipunao, they went through all the Shastra, and because of their purity and because of being enlightened by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, could very easily understand what is really the highest. And Rupa Goswami, what do I want to say? Yeah, so we come to the Hare Krishna temple, and every bhakta and every bhakti in a very short time has a complete understanding. In one sense, a theoretical, complete understanding. You go through the bhakta course, you make some bhakti shastra, you have a complete understanding. But 500 years ago, when Mahaprabhu was in Navadvip, or even when he was in Puri, in his whole pastime, this was not there. There was no Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita was written way after Mahaprabhu's disappearance. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is so important because it's not only the biography of Mahaprabhu, but gives also this perfect theological understanding of his personality, of his tattva, and of his philosophy. And it said Chaitanya Charitamrita is the final word in a discussion about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because when Mahaprabhu was there, he influenced so many people, so many groups also of people, and some had different understandings also about him. And then when the Goswamis acted, there were different camps or different camps. You had in Vrindavan, you had in Puri, and you had in Navadvip, followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But as I said, the understanding of Mahaprabhu was not formalized in that sense. So they ordered Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami not only to write the later pastimes. Yeah, this was one of the mission, what he had to do, the later pastimes of Mahaprabhu. But not only that, he had also to write the philosophy of Mahaprabhu to unite all the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita had a very important missionary purpose. Yeah, it was not just, oh, my dear Kaviraj, please, we have no details about the later pastimes, please write this. No, there was also a missionary, an almost political reason behind writing this. To give everyone the understanding who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is and what his philosophy is. And he wrote this in a very, very nice way and put the teachings in very, very sophisticated way. So Rupa Goswami is in that sense so important because he understood the mind of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we see this very nicely in an episode in the Antya Lila where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is dancing in front of the Ratha Yatra cart and he's chanting a verse, a very long verse. It's in the Antya Lila, and it's actually and then where he says something like where are you, Krishna? Why are you not here anymore? I want you back. But in a certain way that everyone was puzzled. Why is he saying this? It was like, because for us now it's easy to understand why, but at that time they didn't understand. Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi, of course he loves Krishna, but what is the way how he loves Krishna? That is in the mood of Srimati Radharani. That was not understood in that sense. So everyone was thinking, why was he saying these mysterious words? And Rupa Goswami understood it perfectly, and he wrote kind of a purport verse to this verse which Mahaprabhu was quoting. And Mahaprabhu found this verse and was amazed and said, how can you understand my mind? How can you understand my heart? And he was very pleased. So everyone understood right away that Rupa Goswami is very, very special, that he is somehow connected with Mahaprabhu and understands Prema Bhakti in a very deep way, and understands how Mahaprabhu expresses this at certain occasions and in certain occasions. So Rupa Goswami is, of course, he was a very, very sophisticated person, and he was actually the prime minister of the kingdom. Nawab Hussain Shah, we have to understand, India was at that time ruled by Muslims. Everyone knows that, right? India was ruled in Mahaprabhu's time. North India was ruled by Muslims. And it's not that the Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is completely isolated of the political situation at the time. Isn't it? Actually, it's very interesting that Mahaprabhu's Leela is very much connected and influenced almost by the politics of the time. And Rupa Goswami was the prime minister of Nawab Hussain Shah in the Bengal kingdom. But at the same time, he was a pure devotee. He took on the manners of the Muslim to some degree, because he was the prime minister. And it was a Muslim kingdom. It's not that he can run around as a devotee. You are influenced, culturally influenced. And he admitted that also. But at the same time, in his private life, he kept very high Vaishnava lifestyle. So much so that I think it is in Ramakeli, because he had like his home more or less in Ramakeli, where Mahaprabhu met him also, actually. And he had a replica Vrindavan there, it said. He had a replica Vrindavan in his court or garden or house or wherever he lived. He had, he was the prime minister. He probably had a huge house and many servants and lots of space. And he built a replica Vrindavan there, so to always think about Vrindavan. And this is also very interesting. We know that in our parampara, Madhavendra Puri was the one who brought this mood of loving Krishna. But we see in Rupa Goswami that he also had this. It's almost separately from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has not met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but already he was worshipping Vrindavan, and he wrote 2 small books before writing under the guidance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Hamsaduta and the Uddhava Sandesh. At least these 2. They're just small works, but very rasika in their expression of feelings. So he was already, before meeting Mahaprabhu, a Vrindavan Bhakta. So and then he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Ramakeli, and there's many, it's a long story, of course. Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, right? Everyone knows this, huh? Everyone knows that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was living in Jagannath Puri after leaving Navadvip. When Mahaprabhu took sannyas in 1510, Mahaprabhu appeared in 1486, he took sannyas in 1510, when he was 24 years old. As Gaur Mohana, I think, yesterday told, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday? Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit, he was a scholar in Navadvip. But then he had this huge change in his personality after went into Gaya to make this Pinda ceremony for his deceased father. And suddenly he comes back as a completely emotional person. So much so he's always chanting Hare Krishna, and crying and this and that, and nobody understood what's going on with him. So then in 1510 he took sannyas. He gave up this whole thing, was not interesting anymore for him, and he wanted to preach. And he went to Jagannath Puri. And then he was in Jagannath Puri for a short time, and then he went on pilgrimage to South India and to North India. For 6 years, he was like traveling and coming back to Puri, and then, so he wanted to go, after he was on South India tour, he wanted to go to North India, actually to Vrindavan. And he went direct to Vrindavan from Puri, and it said more and more people followed him just by seeing him on the road. And he had like a huge crowd of people behind him. It was thousands of people. They were just seeing him and just following him, walking along with him. Wherever you go, we follow you. And then he comes to Ramakeli and meets Rupa Goswami in the dead of the night, because Rupa Goswami is a very high person. You know, he cannot just meet someone. You know, he's a high-profile person. So at night, in a secretive meeting, they meet. And this is when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initiated Rupa Goswami from because he had a Karmi name, Dabir Khas. Dabir Khas was like his Muslim name. But I think it just means, actually it's a title, more a title than a name. And he initiated him to be called Rupa. And then Rupa Goswami says something to Mahaprabhu which is interesting. He says, "My dear Lord, I know you're on the way to Vrindavan, but if you go to Vrindavan, you should do it in a more humble way. Vrindavan is a very sacred place, and you have thousands of people behind you. It's maybe not so, it's not a custom." And Mahaprabhu also understood it's very impractical to travel with thousands of people. It's a little bit too much. And he went back to Puri. He stopped his travels because of Rupa Goswami's advice, it said. He went back to Puri, and then he was staying for some time in Puri, and devotees didn't want to leave him, and later on he left again. And then he made it to Vrindavan. But this was the first meeting between Rupa Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then, much, much later, Rupa Goswami was living already in Vrindavan and wanted to visit Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. And he was on the way to Jagannath Puri. And on the way, he already, in Vrindavan already, started to write 2 dramas. So these are not, there are different kinds of Vedic texts, or texts in Vedic kind of, how to say, in the succession of Vedic literature, let's say like this. They are like, you have scriptures like the Upanishads, which are short philosophical treatises. You have the Puranas, which are more detailed and longer, and histories. Yeah, you have different style of Sanskrit, like the original Vedic scriptures, the 4 Rig, Yajur, Atharva, and Samaveda. They are in a different Sanskrit style. They are called Vedic Sanskrit. And Puranas, they are like in classical Sanskrit. So they have different styles. You have different language. You have different verses, different application of Vedic knowledge. So Rupa Goswami wrote in a very special style 2 dramas. He wanted to write these 2 dramas. And this he wrote already in Vrindavan. He started to write it in Vrindavan. And then he was on a long journey to Jagannath Puri. And he wanted to write actually 1 story. He wanted to write 1 drama about Krishna, the whole Krishna pastime, more or less. The essential Rasika, the Rasika essence, so to say. The Rasika means, Rasa means taste. Yeah? Rasa is actually our goal. Our goal is not tattva. Our goal is not knowledge. Our goal is not karma. Yeah? Our goal is rasa. The rasa is like the part of bhakti which you can experience. Yeah? Rasa means that what you experience. That's the reason why the Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu, it's a study of rasa. What is rasa? How does it develop? How does it work? How do you experience it? What are the right rasa? What is wrong rasa? It's actually, but I want to speak later on this, there's actually a textbook for devotees who are intensely engaged in bhajan. Of course, in our, ISKCON, because of Prabhupada's strong emphasis towards preaching, sometimes this gets overlooked, but actually Prabhupada wanted this also. Yeah? But devotees will only start working on that if they're ready for it, so to say, because then they will see it. And sometimes it's said, Prabhupada was not giving everything, yeah? And others focus more on rasa and more on lila katha and things like this. But the point is, Prabhupada gave everything from A to Z, but it depends on your consciousness if you see it. And depending on your consciousness, you see in Prabhupada's literature that what is relevant for you. So in that sense, it's a very mystical it's very mystical. So Rupa Goswami wanted to write a drama about Krishna where he brings out all the flavors of rasa. So when the devotee reads that drama, he gets very absorbed and experiences experiential text, experiences rasa and Vrindavan. So he wanted to write in a very beautiful way with nice verses and nice exchanges and nice Sanskrit. Unfortunately, we don't understand it. This is the problem of all of us, more or less, that we don't speak Sanskrit, and we can never appreciate Rupa Goswami's expertise. Yeah, we can never. We are actually handicapped. We have a cultural limitation in our own tradition. And in future, I think it will change, and devotees will speak and understand Sanskrit and appreciate way more what we have. Yeah. But it's no problem. Prabhupada gave in perfect language and with perfect rasa also when you read, so it's okay. So Rupa Goswami was on his way to Jagannath Puri, and he wanted to write one drama. And then he was almost in Jagannath Puri in a place called Satyabhamapur. And it's close to Puri. And at night he had a dream. And in this dream appeared a celestial lady, like a demigoddess. And she said to him, and he was like amazed to see a powerful vision in the night, in the dream. And she said to him, "Oh Rupa, I know what you are doing. You are writing a wonderful drama, a play about Krishna. I want you to write 2 dramas. She said, I want you to write 1 drama about me." That's what she said. "I want that you write 1 drama about me." That was the message. And when he woke up, Rupa Goswami understood what that meant. It meant I have to write 2 dramas, not only 1. Because Satyabhama, he was in Satyabhamapur, and in his dream appeared Satyabhama. Satyabhama is one of the principal queens of Krishna in Dwaraka. And Satyabhama is the second, actually in one sense, actually the third queen Krishna married. And she's the daughter of King Satrachit. Yeah? Everyone knows the story. Everyone knows the story. Nobody knows the story? Someone knows the story? It's a long story. Yeah? Shyamataka jewel story of Krishna book. So anyway, and Satyabhama ordered, "Please write 1 drama about me." So he understood, okay, I have to write 2 dramas. 1 drama about Krishna in Vrindavan and 1 drama about Krishna in Dwaraka. He had to separate it. So he called one Vidakta Madhava and the other one Lalita Madhava. So when Rupa Goswami came now to Jagannath Puri, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already his pastimes, he walked straight to one place. Because Rupa Goswami had a Muslim background and he didn't want to intermingle with the very, from a Hindu point of view, very high followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he walked straight to one place, which is called Siddhabakula. Yeah, Siddhabakula. And who was living there? Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur had his own small place, like Bhajan Kutir, Bhajan place. It's called Siddhabakula. And was chanting there every day his 100,000 rounds, not 100,000 rounds, 192 rounds. And Rupa Goswami, as having a similar background, Muslim background, went to Haridas Thakur and was living there with him together. So Mahaprabhu was very happy that he's there, and he every day visited Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami. And in the Antya Lila is a very nice meeting explained when all the associates, the most important associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even Advaita Acharya, Nityananda, and Swarup Damodar, and Ramananda Rai, all the celebrities of Gaura Lila, especially in Puri, came to meet first time Rupa Goswami. And it's a very emotional meeting. And Mahaprabhu sits on a raised platform with all his associates, and he says, "Oh Rupa, please also sit here." But he was so humble, that he was very, very humble and shy, and was not going on this raised platform and sitting on the floor. And then it came to the discussion, "Oh Rupa, what are you writing?" Because these devotees are interested in the literal, in the work, in the writing of these acharyas. This is our line. Our line is a literal line. We are the book Sampradaya. All of our acharyas were writing most amazing texts. Yeah, everyone was writing most amazing texts, and so they were interested. What are you writing? And then it said he could not speak. He was too shy. He could not even answer. And so I think it was, who was it actually? I think Haridas Thakur or someone else was answering for him, saying, oh, he's writing a drama about Krishna. And every one of these devotees were amazed, oh, he's writing a drama about Krishna. Please let us see it. And I think it was before, or it came later, when Mahaprabhu sees the handwriting of Rupa Goswami. They were writing on these palm leaves. Actually, it was not writing, they were more scratching. You know how they scratch into this palm leaf. It's like wood, soft wood, thin wood plates, the palm leaf plates, dried. And they have this, it's not like a pencil, but it's like a metal with a point. And they were writing like this, the Sanskrit text. And then they put some black graphite on top of it. And so it was, actually it was lasting very long. It was actually quite strong. So Mahaprabhu looks at the handwriting of Rupa Goswami, and he was in ecstasy just seeing the handwriting of Rupa Goswami. He says, oh, Rupa Goswami, your writing, and he shows this to all the devotees, your writing is just like a row of pearls. Just the handwriting of Rupa Goswami was so exquisite, so full of pure Krishna consciousness. What to speak about the meaning of the text. So they want to hear, what is it, what you have written. And in he cannot read, and because he's too shy, and I think it was Swarup Damodar who read loud the introduction, because they want to hear the introduction. In Sanskrit poetry or in Sanskrit works, you have like a Mangala Charan, and then meaning like an verse which establishes the mission, the text, asks for blessings. So it's like an introductory verse. And then they read this verse. This is the second verse of Vidakta Madhava. And it's actually because when you start to write a text like this, you ask for blessings also at your Ishtadeva. Ishtadeva is your most worshipable Lord. And so Rupa Goswami wrote this verse, taking shelter in his Ishtadeva, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So so in this assembly, in this most wonderful assembly in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they read this verse, Anarpita charim chiat kanutim kalau samarpaitum unnata chvalara samsva bhakti shriyam haripuratara sundara yutika damba santipita sadarida kandarespuratu va shachinandana. And they read this verse in this assembly, and everyone is amazed how beautiful it is, how nicely it's composed, how deep the understanding is, and only Mahaprabhu is not happy. And so Mahaprabhu says, this is not right. You make such nice poetry, but now with such a verse in this nice poetry of your drama, it's like putting, what is this? I think you put camphor, no, what was it? Salt in the sweet rice, something like this. And it says, put like salt in the sweet rice. And then they would just correct him and say, no, it's like camphor in the sweet rice. It's most beautiful, it's most wonderful. And Mahaprabhu had to accept it. And then they go into a long discussion, Swarup Damodar, Chagana and Ramananda Rai go into a big discussion and ask him many questions. Wow, what is the topic, and how you compose this and that, and many technical things are explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita about the composition of Vidakta Madhava. Because Ramananda Rai himself is a composer and a dramatist. He also wrote a drama called Jagannath Vallabha Nataka. It's a very important drama for Jagannath. And so he's also very eager to know, how is your drama, Rupa? How is your drama? So the Vidakta Madhava is the drama, a story of Krishna and Vrindavan. And it's very sweet, with very sweet dialogues between Krishna and the cowherd boys and the gopis and Radharani, of course. And it's very emotional. And in between are very beautiful Sanskrit verses glorifying Krishna and Radharani. And it's very touching and beautiful and nice and exquisite. So it's a very important work which the devotees should read. Yeah? We should read Krishna Katha, we should read Krishna Lila, and we should become very absorbed in the pastime. And this is what our acharyas were living. They were showing that this is actually what we have to do. And with this point I want to end also, This is this Unato Chola Rasa. Unato Chola Rasa is not, it's a technique. It's more or less a technique. Yeah? Raga, Nuga, Sadhana, Bhakti Yoga. It's a sadhana. It's a process. And the essential quality of this process is hearing Krishna Lila. This is the essential quality. Hearing Krishna Lila and chanting Krishna's name. And it's very simple, but it's very difficult also. And with this, the devotee develops love of Godhead. And when we don't do that, when you don't read Krishna Lila, and when you don't chant with the right understanding, you waste your time. The purpose of Hare Krishna movement is not to wash pots all day long. This is important to prepare our heart, and do service is important, yes. But the essence is hearing Krishna Lila. Shravanam Kirtanam. This is the process. So when in our free and spare time we are not practicing this, what are you doing here? We are not engaging people here just to make the work. This is important, this is nice, this is good for developing a service attitude, being humble, being engaged in the mission, all that, yes. But the essence is hearing about Krishna. Prabhupada said, I give you all these books not just to distribute, to sell. You have to read these books. And for developing this love to Krishna, we have to read especially Krishna book and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we should be very eager to become advanced, to really work on ourselves. Because we have this wonderful opportunity now to become Krishna conscious in the association of devotees. Yeah. But the problem is we are lazy. So make a plan. How can I become Krishna conscious? Why am I not Krishna conscious already? What's the problem? Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness is a question of now or never. Yeah. It's a question of now or never. You can become now Krishna conscious or never. Even chanting Hare Krishna. So this verse is a great blessing of Rupa Goswami that the son of Mother Shachi, meaning Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, may be really deeply situated in our heart, because our heart is where our being is. What is in our heart? What is our interest? What is our personality? What is our love? And in the beginning, Krishna is in the border of our heart, in the border of our mind, but he should come into the center of our heart. So this is our duty to work on that. Okay, so in the end, I want to show you something beautiful about Rupa Goswami's genius. This is a short work of Rupa Goswami called Chitra Kavitvani, and it's a part of the ontology called Stavavali, which is like a verse collection of Rupa Goswami. And this consists, I think it's only 12 verses, which show Rupa Goswami's genius. Chitra means like wondrous. Chitra means like wondrous, like amazing. Chitra means amazing. And these are verses which he compiled, which are very amazing. And I will not read all of them, but just to show you what he did. He was playing with the Sanskrit. In this shlokas, he was playing with the Sanskrit. And it's most interesting that even though he was limiting himself to some certain rules of the shloka, still it has a very deep meaning. So like this first verse, I just read the translation and then I read the Sanskrit. It means, filled with transcendental amorous desire, Nanda's son, who showers nectar, whose tides are strong, who is the demon's enemy, and who is the sword that cuts down the cycle of repeated birth and death, entered the rasa dance holding a lotus flower. Okay, so a very beautiful verse about Krishna. And what he was doing, he was writing this with only 2 syllables. Only 2 syllables. Yeah? Of course, in Sanskrit, a syllable is like Ra. Yes, here, Ra. Ra is a syllable, but it can also be changed to Ru or Re or Ri. Yeah? But still, if the R is there, whatever vocal afterwards is there, it's still one syllable. So this the verse is like this: Rasa Sara Susaro Rur Asura Sasara Sa Sangsara Sir Asaura Se Surirang Susarasaha. Okay, so there are only 2 syllables, Ra and Sa. And this, what I read the translation, this is what it means. In the next verse, he uses again 2 syllables. Acting like a thief, Nanda's broad-chested son, the most handsome person in the world, quickly stole the gopi's garments. His effulgence made him very attractive, and the sandal paste anointing his limbs enhanced his beauty. Charcho rochir uchora rochiro rang chara chare chara charo chirat chiram rucha charur achu charat. Zungenbrecher. So, and in the next one, he uses only also two syllables. Okay, one second. No, here in the verse 4, he has only 1 syllable, only one, only na, only n, na. With his face nearly soaked with tears, the many-headed Lord Brahma, who impels the various demigods, offered prayers in an attempt to pacify Lord Krishna, the killer of Shakat Asura. Ni nu na no na nam nu nam na nu no na na no nu ni na ni na nam ni num ni nam na na naum na 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 no na nu. So this is why it's called Chitra. It's very amazing, right? With one syllable he makes a verse. So and here, this is also really, really cool. This is a long verse. Ganda Krishna Guru Namandalani Vane Hara Prabhati Plutam was the first line. So it's a long verse. Okay, has 4 lines, has a long meaning about Krishna. But this verse, it cannot be. You think it's a regular verse, yeah? If you just see the verse, you see it's a regular verse. But actually, how he composed it, he made it's a chakra verse, yeah. So it's like these riddles, and you have these 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the syllables meet on a certain points, right? So this is also very amazing how he composed this. So in the middle is the ni. All the verses meet at the ni in the middle. So he composed like this. And the 4th line, every 4th syllable is like the beginning syllable or end syllable of the line 1, 3, 2 or 3, right? So there's like a riddle he made like this. And when you can look at this later. So it's always very interesting. And what's even more interesting is that there is his own signature in the verse hidden. Yeah, he put his own signature in the verse, and it's here inside. If you take this syllabus, Rupa, Ta, I'll look it up here. Here it said. Krishna stutir asa Rupa virachita. This prayer to Krishna was composed by Rupa. It's like inside. No? He put like this. No? Okay, anyway, this is then he has like a snake. So it's like the shloka goes like this and meets at certain points. And very amazing. And also the meaning is so amazing. And so a couple of this, like with a lotus flower and then like a kind of a braid, like this. So he played with the Sanskrit. Or this is also nice, how's it called? Sudoku. Wow. It's a Sudoku verse. You can and you can read this verse. This is also which one was it? 1 second. One was you can read from both directions. I don't find it. You can read from back as the same meaning like from the front. Anyway, so this just shows Rupa Goswami's genius. He was very deep in his understanding of Mahaprabhu, Manobishtam. He was very eloquent in anything. He gave us the philosophical understanding of Bhakti in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and in the Ujjval Nilamani. He was a genius in writing in Sanskrit. He wrote different styles of Sanskrit composition, like the drama or more philosophical works like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And that's the reason why we are Rupa Nugas. And Srila Prabhupada says we are Rupa Nugas, the followers of Rupa Goswami. Without him, we would not have this understanding of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Unato Chvala Rasam Svabhakti Shriyam. that he gave, Mahaprabhu gave something what no one else has ever given. But in order to understand this, what he gave, we need Rupa Goswami to explain that. Yeah. So and this verse is also by Rupa Goswami, and it gives us a hint. Yeah, so it's now on us to understand, to study, to practice, to accept this gift what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us. And as I said, when he said, also a verse by Rupa Goswami, Namu Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurati Nama. Also Rupa Goswami's verse. So when he says he gives prema, we can understand it in a mystical way, that he gives you prema, in a more mystical way. But we can understand it also in a technical way. He gave us prema, or a process to reach prema. Bhakti Yoga as formalized by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. How does sadhana bhakti yoga work? How is the transition from Vaidhi? What is Vaidhi sadhana bhakti? And how is it transitioning into Rupa Raganuga sadhana bhakti yoga? We have to come to this platform. And it's not so difficult also. But we have to work on it. We have to understand it. We have to practice it. And the most essential, as Prabhupada also says, is hearing about Krishna, chanting his holy name. This is the technique. And so this love of God, it will manifest. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.